Natural disasters have always been a constant threat to our world. In 2023, we have seen some of the most devastating natural disasters that have left a lasting impact on the world. Let's take a closer look at each of these top 10 natural disasters that happened in 2023. 1. The Great Californian Earthquake. The year 2023 started with a bang as a massive earthquake struck California, causing widespread damage and loss of life. This earthquake was one of the most powerful in recorded history, registering a magnitude of 9.2 on the Richter scale. The ground shook for several minutes, causing widespread destruction to buildings, roads, and bridges. The death toll was devastating, with over 20,000 people losing their lives and thousands more left injured and homeless. 2. The South Asian monsoon floods. The monsoon season brought with it heavy rains that caused widespread flooding, leaving millions of people homeless and without food or water. This year's monsoon season brought with it heavy rains, causing widespread flooding in South Asia. Rivers overflowed their banks, submerging entire towns and villages, leaving millions of people displaced and countless lives lost. The aftermath of the floods was devastating, with people struggling to find food, water, and shelter. 3. The African drought. The long, dry spell that hit Africa this year led to widespread food and water shortages, putting millions of lives at risk. The drought that hit Africa was severe, causing widespread food and water shortages that put millions of lives at risk. The prolonged dry spell resulted in the death of crops, livestock, and wildlife, exacerbating an already dire situation. People were forced to travel long distances to find water, and the shortage of food was a serious concern. 4. The East Asian tsunami. A massive earthquake off the coast of East Asia generated a tsunami that caused widespread damage and loss of life, particularly in Japan and the Philippines. This massive tsunami was generated by a powerful earthquake off the coast of East Asia, and it struck with devastating force. Entire towns and villages were destroyed in its path, and the damage to infrastructure was widespread. The death toll was heartbreaking, with thousands of people losing their lives and many more injured or left homeless. 5. The South Pacific Cyclone. A powerful cyclone hit the South Pacific, causing widespread damage and loss of life, especially in the Fiji Islands. This powerful storm brought with it high winds, heavy rain, and massive waves, causing widespread damage and loss of life, particularly in the Fiji Islands. Homes, buildings, and infrastructure were destroyed, and thousands of people were left homeless. The aftermath was devastating, with people struggling to find food, water, and shelter. 6. The Arctic melting. The Arctic melting continued at a rapid pace, leading to rising sea levels and devastating consequences for coastal communities. The continued melting of the Arctic ice has led to rising sea levels, which are posing a threat to coastal communities and wildlife habitats. The melting also releases large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere, exacerbating global warming and climate change. The Arctic region is also home to unique wildlife species, and the melting ice is having a devastating impact on their habitats. 7. The South American volcano eruptions. A series of volcanic eruptions in South America caused widespread damage, ash fall, and other environmental effects. The volcanic eruptions in South America caused widespread ash fall, disrupting air travel and affecting the health of the local population. The ash fall also caused damage to forests and wildlife habitats and released large amounts of harmful gases into the atmosphere. The aftermath was devastating, with people struggling to cope with the environmental and health impacts of the eruptions. 8. The Midwest tornadoes. The Midwest experienced a spate of deadly tornadoes, causing widespread damage and loss of life. The tornadoes that hit the Midwest caused widespread damage and loss of life. Homes, buildings, and infrastructure were destroyed, and thousands of people were left homeless. The aftermath was devastating, with people struggling to find food, water, and shelter and rebuilding their lives. 9. The hurricane season. The hurricane season was particularly intense this year, with several powerful hurricanes making landfall, causing widespread damage and loss of life. The hurricane season in 2023 was particularly intense, with several powerful hurricanes making landfall and causing widespread damage. Homes, buildings, and infrastructure were destroyed, and the loss of life was significant. The aftermath was devastating, with people struggling to rebuild their lives and communities coming together to help those affected. 10. The Asian wildfires. A series of wildfires swept across Asia, causing widespread damage to forests and wildlife habitats and releasing large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The wildfires that swept across Asia caused widespread damage to forests and wildlife habitats and released large amounts of carbon dioxide into the atmosphere. The fires also caused air pollution, affecting the health of local populations. The aftermath was devastating, with people struggling to cope with the environmental and health impacts of the fires. In conclusion, these natural disasters have had a profound impact on the world, and we must work together to mitigate their risks and impacts. It's time to invest in disaster preparedness and risk reduction measures to ensure a safer and more resilient future for all. If you loved this video, please make sure to like and drop a comment to let us know what you think. And don't forget to subscribe. I'll talk to you again soon.